In the last section, we started defining our item builder function. Again, the item builder function is going to be called a certain number of times inside of our application. Every time it gets called, you and I have to return a widget that represents some given image that we've loaded into our images list. The images that are inside this list are not directly provided to the item builder function. Instead, you and I just get this index right here, and we have to use this index to reference a particular image inside of our image list. So for right now, rather than trying to actually show a full-on image on the screen, let's try to just print out all the different URLs of the images that we've loaded up. So from my item builder, I'm going to return a text element. And inside this thing, I want to reference my images list. I want to look up the element inside that list at the index. That's going to give us an image model instance. And then I want to pull out of that a URL. Okay, so let's save this. Now you'll notice when I save it, all my code jumped on the screen because I did not properly put a comma at the end of my item builder function. So I'm going to add that comma in right now. And now I get a little bit better indentation. Now, as we've been working, I unfortunately restarted my emulator. So I'm going to start my emulator back up with Flutter run. It's going to take me a minute or two to get this thing running. So we'll take a quick pause, come back to the next section, and make sure that we see a URL on the screen for every image that we load. In the last section, we added in a tiny bit of logic to our item builder function. I've started up my emulator, and it looks like I don't have any errors or anything like that. So I'm going to try to press the button right here. As soon as I press the button, we're going to make a request over to that images API. We're going to fetch some JSON. We're going to add it to our list of images right here. That's going to update our item count for the list view. So the list view is going to try to build a number of items equal to the images that we have inside of our image list. Then the item builder is going to be called many times. And each time we're going to look inside of our image list, pull an image model out of there, and reference the URL property on it. So with that in mind, I'll go back over to my emulator, and if I click on the plus button, I start to see the URLs appearing. Now you'll notice that there's a little bit of a delay in there. Like when I press the button, it takes a minute for the URL to actually appear on the screen. And that's actually completely to be expected. Remember, whenever we go to fetch that image, we are making a network request, and that takes some amount of time to accomplish. So that's why you're seeing that little delay in there as we go out and try to fetch the image. Okay, so that looks pretty good, but showing the URLs on the screen, definitely not that interesting. So let's take a look at some documentation again and see if we can't figure out how to take the URL right here, and rather than showing the URL as a text, let's try to fetch the actual image that URL points at and show the image on the screen instead. So I'm going to pull up my Flutter documentation again, and I'm going to search for image and find the image class right here. Now on the image class documentation, right here at the top is exactly what we're looking for. So there's several different named constructors that are given to us as a part of this image class that allow us to show images from different sources. So in some cases, we get the ability to show an image from an asset bundle. An asset bundle is an image that is bundled in with our actual application. We can show an image from a file, or show a raw image from a list of integers. Or, for what we're trying to do, show an image from a URL. So in order to show an image on the screen, we have to create a new image.network widget. So I'm going to flip back over. And now, rather than showing a text right here, I'm going to try to create a new instance of image.network, like so. So I'll save this. I'm going to refresh my terminal again, or refresh my application. We're going to wait a couple of seconds for the restart. There we go. And now when I click plus right here, we reach out to fetch our image and then show that image on the screen. And as I start to click on this, I'm adding more and more images to my list. So I can keep clicking and I get more images showing up until I eventually hit the bottom, at which point I can hit plus again and get another image. Awesome. So it looks like we're definitely making some progress, but our application still does not quite match our mockup. So remember on our mockup, we had shown the image on here on kind of like a card sort of rectangular looking thing. And underneath it, we wanted to show the title of each image because each image does have a title. It's just a random jumble of words, but I think we still want to show the title on there. So like the first image has this Latin phrase right here. So we still have a little bit of work to do. Let's take a break and come back in the next section.